Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's edition of ETV News. I'm Hannah Lasbury.
And I'm Cameron Darcy. Thank you for joining us. Let's start the night off by bringing you some campus stories.
Eastern was ranked one of the top 20 public universities in the U.S. News & World Report for the years 22 to 23 for Northern Regional Rankings. Rankings are based upon a multitude of different factors ranging from retention rates to social mobility. The reporter gave special credit to Eastern for a 78% retention rate, a student-faculty ratio of 14:1, as well as many first-year students being in the top 25% of their graduating high school classes. Eastern's president, Elsa Nunez, said, quote, "I am pleased that for the first time ever, Eastern students now rank among the top 20 public institutions in the North, something we can be very proud of. The North region contains the highest concentration of colleges and universities in the country and is home to some of the nation's top institutions. I am gratified that we rank so highly, indicative of our academic reputation, strong graduation and retention rates, and the quality of our students. This is a tribute to our faculty, staff, and students, and I congratulate them on this achievement. As Connecticut's only public liberal arts university, we continue to be committed to providing an outstanding education to students from all backgrounds," unquote. The full report and list of universities can be found on the U.S. News & World Report's website.
Another full report available is the Department of Public Safety's 2019 through 2021 Crime and Fire Safety Reports. To summarize, however, they showcase 3 top findings. All violent crimes are extremely low, with none going above 10 incidents a year. There was a massive increase in liquor-related arrests and disciplinary actions from 2020 to 2021, and there have been no reported fires on campus in the past 2 years. For further information on the report, visit www.easternct/police and go to the Career Crime Report tab.
The Office of Career Success hosted the Career and Internship Fair this week in the Geisler Gymnasium. There were plenty of businesses and companies around the entire gym, giving Eastern students the opportunity to understand what it's like working at the workplace dedicated to their goals, as well as understanding what the perils that they have if they join a certain business. Companies like FedEx, CVS, and much more were around to help students stay interested and think ahead.
Congratulations to ECSU's educational program. The Teachers Ed program recently received the 2022 Frank Murray Recognition for Continuous Improvement Award by the Council for the Accreditation of Educator Preparation, also known as the CAEP. The award is presented to colleges and universities that display dedication towards innovation, leadership, and educational advancement. Approximately 471 schools achieved CAEP accreditation worldwide, but only 32 programs from 16 U.S. states, Puerto Rico, and Jordan were granted this recognition. This is the first time that Eastern has received the Frank Murray recognition. The commemorative award represents the legacy of Frank Murray, the founding president of the Teacher Education Accreditation Council and one of the first members of the CAEP Board of Directors. Sudha Swaminathan, early first childhood education professor, says, "This quote means that we have recognized and demonstrated that education is a process, and we have a system in place to continuously improve upon our standards. This honor is an acknowledgement to the dynamic improvement that our school has demonstrated in terms of faculty growth, recruitment of diverse candidates, and our dedication towards teaching the children."
This week, Eastern's Campus Activity Board brought Harry Potter fans together for a centered around the popular franchise.
We're here at the Harry Potter event.
Eastern students to find out more about the event and what it means to them.
We're here at the Harry Potter event hosted by Campus Activity Board today, and I gotta say there's a lot of attractions catching my eye right now, so let's go take an inside look with the students and CAB members who are working this event right now.
This past Tuesday, over 200 students came to this Harry Potter event, and we wanted to ask them why and what brought them here.
I wanted to come to this event because I'm like a semi-Harry Potter nerd, so it's like, I love this type of stuff, and it's interesting.
My friend saw the poster or advertisement somewhere, and they were like super pumped because they really like Harry Potter and Butterbeer, I guess. And so they dragged me along, and I got a cool mug, I got Polaroids, and it was a great time.
I decided to come because I wanted to see my friends and CAB. You know, I have friends that work there as well, so I wanted to say hi.
I came to this event because I really just wanted to hang out with my friends. You know, we like watching Harry Potter movies and stuff like that, so it's just nice to come and make the cute little mugs and stuff and pretend to be wizards.
This event had the popular and classic butterbeer drink for students to try, designable mugs to take home with them, and a Polaroid photo op station so that students could take a picture of this memorable moment. And to say there was definitely a lot of excitement and magic in the air. Hearing our campus talk about their favorite thing was probably our most favorite part.
I liked watching, I didn't get a chance to get a ticket because it came kind of later, but I like watching like the Cups get stamps.
My favorite part is coming here with my friends and making vlogs and taking pictures.
My favorite activity was the mug making event, and I think it's really funny and it was super cute, and yeah.
My favorite part is this. You know, I love to take pictures, so like photo booths at programs really like make me come out and stuff like that.
Not to mention, at 7 p.m. last Tuesday night, students got an opportunity to come back to the Student Center and watch their favorite movie, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
If you can't make the first showing of the movie, don't sweat it. You'll have another opportunity to on October 22nd at 12 p.m. Be sure to check out CAB's Instagram page for all their recent events and latest activities coming up. Inside the Student Center, I'm Hannah Lasbury with Kaylee Roberts behind the camera.
This past Wednesday, Eastern welcomed the Connecticut Supreme Court to continue their on-circuit program that they have been hosting around the state. The program allows for students and the community to experience and understand the appellate process firsthand. 2 arguments were headed at this event, and the first one being the State of Connecticut versus Shyla M. Curett, a case regarding the warrantless entry by police. The second argument, John Drum, Chief of Police, versus the Freedom of Information Commission, et al., regarded whether or not the police records were free from disclosure under state law. For more information on the Connecticut Supreme Court and what they do, you can find them at jud.ct.gov.
This past Saturday, Eastern's Housing and Residential Life Division of Student Affairs hosted goat cuddling therapy on Webb Lawn. Students were able to pet, feed, and enjoy the company of goats as young as 5 months. With midterms approaching, there sure is no better stress reliever than fluffy animals.
Another stress relief for foodies is happening this weekend. For all the apple lovers and fall enthusiasts, Old Mystic Village will be holding their first annual Fall Fest through October 22nd and 23rd in Mystic, Connecticut. With over 40 vendors and live music, this event will provide fun and food for the whole family to enjoy. For more information on the event, visit oldmysticvillage.com.
Looking for something more scary to attend? Our hometown Willimantic's got you covered. Select locations around town are hosting a month-long Spooktober. From ghost tours, scavenger hunts, to attending a haunted wake, witnessing a reenactment of the Connecticut witch trials, and listening to spine-chilling cemetery tales and horror stories, there's a fright for all to be found at various places. What's even better is that these spooktacular adventures are at reasonable costs, ranging from free admission to as low as $20. So, buddy up with your favorite guy or ghoul and experience the hauntings of Willie. To read more about the specific events at which the site they're taking place, visit the official Spooktober calendar on the American Museum's website.
Considering there's plenty of seasonal events to choose from near and far, we decided to ask our student body what their favorites are. Reporter Fernando Geronimo takes us to Mead Hall to find out how first years love to spend their fall.
I'm Fernando Geronimo reporting inside Mead Hall on Eastern Connecticut State University campus, where we'll be asking residents what their favorite fall activity is. What is your favorite fall activity?
So far it has to be the costume dodgeball. I really enjoyed it and seeing everyone's excited costume.
My favorite fall activity is raking up all the colorful, beautiful fall leaves and jumping in a leaf pile with all my favorite friends.
I would say my favorite fall activity is watching football, the playoffs and stuff like that.
Going apple picking and hiking.
Favorite fall activity is going apple picking and carving pumpkins with my friends.
I would say my favorite fall activity is watching football and playing baseball.
Probably apple picking and carnivals.
My favorite fall activity is playing the ukulele.
With many people liking to go on hay rides, apple picking, and jumping in leaves, one thing's for certain, everyone likes to be outdoors. Reporting live here in Mead Hall on Eastern Connecticut State University campus, I'm Fernando Geronimo with Sophia Vilches reporting behind the camera, sending it back to the studio.
When we come back, reporter Kaylee Roberts sits down with Brooke Stanley to talk about her research with Eastern's new cannabis cultivation program. Stay tuned.
Sure, I look cute now, but when my owner lost his job, it was rough. I was living on the street, and one night, me and this Cocker Spaniel got into it so bad, I wound up looking like an ice cream cone. I cried a little bit, but thankfully I got rescued, so I'm running, I'm jumping, all back to my old self, and I'm ready to give unconditional love, even if you put a lampshade on my head.
Back, everyone. Let's take a look at what Brooke Stanley has to say about the cannabis cultivation program and the upcoming conference hosted here at Eastern.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of One on One. I'm Kaylee Roberts. Tonight we are joined by none other than Brooke Stanley, a junior who is set to speak at this year's New England Cannabis Academic Conference on her research about autoflowering cannabis. Hello, Brooke, and thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. So to start off, tell us a little bit about your research and what it is specifically that you're studying.
So my research, I'm studying autoflowering cannabis, and I'm studying whether to prove whether they're statistically significant or not in their growth after transplant. So my project is to grow plants and then transplant them after the 2-week period, and to see whether they grow as well in the transplanted pots or not. So some of them start out in like 2-gallon pots and some of them start out with smaller pots. And because there's been like a lot of non-proven like talk about them not surviving very well after they've been transplanted, I wanted to prove whether it can be like statistically proven as opposed to like just like social word.
And you touched on this a little, but what mainly sparked your interest in studying cannabis, but more specifically autoflowering cannabis?
So autoflowering cannabis is really convenient the way that you can grow it. I think that I was looking for something that was not new, but something that was like a growing topic in like the cannabis industry. And so Dr. Connolly, who is the faculty mentor that I study with, he suggested that I start this project because he had already had like a little bit of data and it was something that he was interested in, and I was just really kind of willing to go with it, and I'm really enjoying it.
Nice, I'm happy to hear that. And are you part of the minor program here at Eastern?
I am. So I declared that minor I think last spring, and I just started my first class within the minor.
And what do you think makes Eastern stand out with this kind of research that we're doing?
I think that it's such a growing industry. Like with the new legalizations in Connecticut and around New England area, I think that Eastern is going to have some great output of students with this minor, and it's going to really stand out on job applications because if you wanted to go into the industry, it's great to have experience prior, and I think that having faculty mentors to teach you how to do things with cannabis as opposed to learning it on the job just really makes you very hireable and great to look at on a resume.
Yeah, you're right. It's a great segue into the industry. And tell us a bit about the process and how you're studying it. Really get into the specifics.
Okay, so the first set of data that I had was from plants that he had already grown, Dr. Connolly. And so I did statistic t-tests, so that's two variable t-tests, taking the height and width of both the transplanted and non-transplanted plants, and it gives you an output p-value, which is, it has to be less than 0.05% to be statistically significant or not, and so this is just a statistical process. But so growing plants, I just recently started a new set of research plants, so you wanted to start out with some 2-gallon pots and some 4-inch pots, and so you're gonna germinate your seedlings in them and wait until they start growing, and then once about like the 2-week mark, they're gonna like look pretty good for seedlings, and then at that point you're gonna transplant those ones in the smaller pots into the bigger pots, and that's when the data really starts to matter because now they're in the different environment that we want to study for. So before this, we measure all of our data and plug it into an Excel spreadsheet, which is what we do everything on. And then you continue this process until they go into flower, because they grow right until they start to produce bud. And then you can perform your t-tests, and you make graphs to just show in a picture form like what is differing and what's not. And then you can begin to look into why they might, if it's just a genetic thing or different factors. We're really just like pioneering, so it's still pretty in the works, I'd say.
It's still super impressive that you guys are doing that. And speaking of impressive, you're speaking at a conference. Where did the opportunity to present at this conference come from?
So Dr. Connolly is really invested in the cannabis work that he does here at Eastern, and I had him for a class last semester, and I really just liked him as a professor. I think that he teaches very well, and so I took the cannabis cultivation class with him, and that really got me into my independent research. And so he brought up wanting to have some students speak at the cannabis conference because it's being hosted here, and he thinks it's a great way for people to really get to know about the minor and have an opportunity to engage with the people that are studying it.
Nice. And in today's world, I'm sure you face this. A lot of people have a different perception of cannabis and how it is used. What have you learned about cannabis and how it will help our world?
Okay. So the controversy is very large, especially in a place like Connecticut. I feel like it's pretty polar. Some people are very supportive of it and some are not. And I understand that. I love to be able to prove that plants can provide us with such like amazing things. And so there's so many cannabinoids in cannabis flower that haven't been studied yet and like have the opportunity to help people in a way that doesn't involve chemicals. And I think that that's a really important way for medicine to evolve, because I don't know, personally, I wouldn't want to consume a bunch of chemicals if I'm taking like any medicines for anything, especially a chronic disorder or disease. I think that I would want my medication to be like biologically based from like natural things. So I think that the less ingredients that we can have on a label is going to be really it's going to be able to improve a lot of the ways that people move forward with their chronic disorders and diseases.
And how are you preparing for the conference, and what will your presentation look like?
Okay, so last week I moved forward with my poster and was able to complete it. It took a lot of time, and we had to adhere to certain standards, but I think a lot of the posters came out great. And so that was probably one of the most tedious parts, because the research is going on all the time and you just collect data all the time, so it's nothing different than my independent study. But I think that we're just trying to present ourselves in a way that we can be proud of, and we're really trying to work on how we speak and what we're gonna, like the terms that we should use, and how to best appeal to the people at the conference, and also like preparing ourselves to learn a lot, because there's gonna be so many presenters there, and there's gonna be so many potential employers that I think that we would want to impress, and that could also impress us.
Yeah, and tying into that, how do you plan to use this research to further your career in the future?
I have thought about going into cannabis and the research end of it, and I think that this will really help me, like I mentioned before, on like a resume, but I think that in my future I could definitely do a lot of research on the different cannabinoids. So in particular, there's a cannabinoid called CBG that's used to treat glaucoma, and I think that that could be really interesting, because like historically glaucoma doesn't have a ton of treatment options, and I think that being able to pioneer research as opposed to recreating things that people have already done is really interesting, and it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, totally. Well, Brooke, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. It's been super interesting to listen to you talk, and we wish you the best of luck at the conference that's coming up.
Thank you so much.
This has been another edition of One on One, and I'm Kaylee Roberts.
Thanks, Kaylee. When we come back, a popular band makes its return, Kanye stays current, an update of the damage on Hurricane Ian, and more. Don't go anywhere.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
Welcome back. The family of the late George Floyd has sent a cease and desist letter to the rapper. In the letter, lawyers for the family said they intend on filing a lawsuit for, quote, harassment, misappropriation, defamation, and infliction of emotional distress. During a recent episode of the podcast, Drink Champs, the rapper implied that Floyd's death was due to a fentanyl being in his system, adding, quote, the guy's knee wasn't even on his neck like that. The guy he referenced is former Minnesota police officer Derek Chauvin. According to Chauvin's trial testimony, the medical examiner who performed Floyd's autopsy said his death was the result of, quote, law enforcement restraint and neck compression. The cease and desist letter demands that Kanye remove the interview and refrain from making similar statements regarding George Floyd. So far, no word is from the rapper regarding the letter. As of Tuesday, the Drink Champs interview has been taken down.
Hey Radioheads, we're throwing it back to the 90s this week because Blink-182 is back. That's right, fans all over the world are ecstatic that Blink-182 is making their return along with their original guitarist, Tom DeLonge. DeLonge left the band in 2015 to focus on other projects, but came back recently, saying in an Instagram post that his fellow bandmate, Mark Hoppus's cancer treatment, quote, put a lot of things in perspective, unquote. The band announced their first tour after 10 years apart, along with a new song and album.
Feeling parched or tired of the regular selections lately? There's a new flavor out there for Dr. Pepper fans. On Wednesday, the classic soda brand is releasing a limited bourbon-flavored reserve soda. Officials say that the non-alcoholic drink has hints of cherry, vanilla, chocolate, and caramel. And the cans come in a burgundy-colored box. Right now, the product is only available by sweepstakes to Pepper Perks members. Those who are interested have until November 17th for a chance to win the drink. So crack a chance at seasoning your soda habits with the new variety of pepper.
Happy National Chicken and Waffles Day. Today marks another year of celebrating this quintessential meal. And believe it or not, the idea of putting chicken and waffles together has been around for 150 plus years now. Starting in the South, it made a slow migration into the urban communities, North and West, becoming a staple food for both African American and Pennsylvania Dutch cooks. Ever since then, limitless combinations of this dish have been made by thousands of people. So next time you're out to eat or you want to make yourself a good meal, try some chicken on that waffle.
Shifting over to politics, former President Donald Trump will be placed under oath Wednesday, related to the defamation lawsuit from former magazine columnist E. Jean Carroll. But right now, it is unknown if Trump will answer questions when he is disposed by Carroll's lawyer. In 2019, Carroll sued then-President Trump for defamation after he denied her allegation that he raped her in the 1990s. This case has sat in legal limbo for more than a year, partially over the issue of Trump being a federal employee during his time of denials. However, last week a federal judge paved the way for Trump to testify, saying Trump and his legal team have stalled long enough. So far, there's been no comment from the attorneys on either side.
On Friday, October 14th, in room 43 of London's National Gallery, 21-year-old Phoebe Plummer and 20-year-old Anna Holland opened cans of tomato soup and threw their contents onto Vincent van Gogh's famous painting, Sunflowers. The soup throwers wore shirts displaying the logo of Just Stop Oil, an activist group that has been staging nonviolent demonstrations across the United Kingdom to protest the production of fossil fuels. They are also vandalizing the painting, each superglued hands to the wall so that they could not be removed from the premises. Plummer said that, quote, what is worth more, art or life? Is it worth more than food, worth more than justice? Are you more concerned about the protection of a painting or the protection of our planet and people? The cost of living crisis is part of the cost of oil crisis. Fuel is unaffordable to millions of cold, hungry families. They can't even afford to heat a tin of soup, unquote. That Saturday, Holland and Plummer appeared in court, pleading not guilty to a charge of vandalizing sunflowers. District Judge Tan Erkram released the women on bail, on the condition that they don't take paint or adhesives with them into a public space.
Another battle, Hurricane Ian may be in the past, but the damage has left Florida farmers and ranchers very much in the present. The University of Florida released a new preliminary analysis Tuesday showing farmers and ranchers in the state lost up to $1.56 billion in assets due to Ian. Crops, livestock, and necessary equipment were decimated in the storm, and this is not even the final damage assessment. Some of the hardest hit areas in southwestern Florida are still not accessible for evaluation. It could take the state weeks to complete the final report on its agricultural losses.
Have you been getting enough sleep lately? If you want to keep your heart in tip-top shape, make sure you get enough Z's. According to the study from Wednesday's Journal of American Heart Association, the more sleep a person gets, the better for heart health. The findings are based on sleep data from 2,000 participants who are middle-aged or older. Researchers say people who sleep less than 7 hours a night have an increased risk issues including type 2 diabetes, obesity, and high blood pressure. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recommends adults get at least 7 hours of shut-eye per day. Earlier this year, the American Heart Association added sleep duration to its heart checklist known as Life's Essential 8. So maybe start heading to bed a little sooner, Warriors. Your body will thank you.
When we come back, reporter Sophia Vilches will be here with the latest updates in Eastern athletics. Stay tuned.
It's a short ride from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Find fun activities to do, like boating and biking, or camping and hiking, plus much more. To find a neighborhood park or green space near you, visit discovertheforest.org.
They call me Prince like I'm royalty or something. But the places I've lived ain't no palaces. So I don't need grilled salmon or a new scratching post. Just give me a cardboard box and a can of tuna and we're good. You can even change my name. I'm cool being the kitty formerly known as Prince.
Welcome back. Sophia Vilches is here with a look up what's up with Eastern's fall sports. Hey, Sophia.
Thanks, guys. Eastern Athletics have been on a roller coaster this past week. Men's soccer split their games this past week, beating Pratt Institute 10-0 and suffering a tough defeat against number 18, nationally ranked Babson College 1-0. They moved their record to 8-5-2 as they look to bounce back in their next game on Saturday at home in a Little East Conference matchup against the Plymouth State Panthers. Women's soccer split their games as well as they fell to number 10 nationally ranked Williams College 3-0. They managed to bounce back and sink the U.S. Coast Guard Academy 4-0 and move their record over 500 to 6-5-3. Their last two games are Little East Conference matchups, with Plymouth State being their first on Saturday and UMass Dartmouth to close out the regular season the following Saturday. Volleyball have dropped 2 of their last 3 games as they fell to U-Hart in 3 sets and Wheaton to 4. They managed to sandwich a win between those losses, beating University of New England in their 3-set win. They moved to their record to 14-6. Their next matchup will be on Saturday against Plymouth State in a Little East Conference matchup. Golf finished their fall season at the 87th New England Intercollegiate Golf Association Championship and Mitchell College Invitational. Golf finished 5th and 7th of the 23 teams on both days at the 87th New England Intercollegiate Golf Association Championship and 5th on 3rd and finished 3rd of 5 teams in the Mitchell College Invitational. Field hockey split their 2 games this past week, falling to Westfield State in overtime 2-1 and bounced back to beat WestCon 2-1. Field hockey moves their record to 6-8 and look to finish the season strong with their next matchup at home against Worcester State. Finally, men's and women's cross country finished the regular season at the Connecticut College Invitational. Men's cross country finished second out of 14 teams, while women's cross country finished third out of 14 teams. Their next meet will be in the Little East Conference Championship on October 29th at 10 a.m. Be sure to keep up with all of our daily content regarding Eastern Athletics by following our social media at ECSU Athletics, and our streams, as always, are powered by Sidearm Sports and Blue Frame Technology. That is all for this week's Around Eastern Athletics. Hannah, Cameron, back to you.
Thanks, Sophia. And that wraps up our show for tonight.
Be sure to follow us on all of our social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
From Director Lexi Nimitz, producer Julia Florence, and the entire ETV News staff, thank you for watching. Once again, I'm Hannah Lasbury.
And I'm Cameron Darcy. See you next week, Eastern.